Hello, and welcome to Coffee and Commiseration with Kay Steinsapir. I promise you, no one in the history of podcasts has ever worked harder to bring you a podcast than I have worked today to bring you this episode. I don't know what I'm doing, you guys. I have no idea. I am not tech savvy in the slightest. And I have recorded this fucking thing. This is now my fourth time. And I keep messing it up. So please listen. If you're here, thank you. If anyone is listening to this, I thank you because it has not gone smoothly today. So we are on wine again. I was here with coffee. I was here with green tea. I was here with a smoothie. And now I'm here with wine because nothing has gone according to plan as per usual in my life. So I'm going to keep it brief. I probably was droning on too long in my prior iterations of this episode, so I'm going to take that as a sign that I need to improve my delivery and speed things along. So, hi, thank you for being here. I wanted to talk to you about what I plan to do on this podcast. It's free flow, and we're going to learn together and develop this thing as we go along. Many of you, my friends, will be guests on here and we'll figure it out. Just like we're doing at our community room. We're just sort of gathering together and together we are figuring out the way forward. However, to give you an idea of some of the topics I intend to cover on my podcast, I wanted to let you know some general thoughts I had. I was driving to Big Bear not too long ago in December, which actually feels like a different lifetime now, because in the interim, we've had a crazy fire that destroyed our town. So it's weird when things like that happen, like huge things. It is always like the before and the after, and the before times seem very far away and very different. So I just dictated to myself a couple of subject ideas that I had for a podcast. And I wanted to share those with you all so you know what to expect and hopefully you want to keep coming and tuning in. So, first of all, we're going to talk about grief. Obviously, we have to talk about grief because that's a huge part of my life and it always will be. I will live for the rest of my life with grief as my constant companion. And honestly, I wouldn't want to have it any other way at this point. Of course, I would prefer not to have lost Molly in the first place, but I want grief with me because that's how Molly is also with me. So I want to talk about grief. I spend a lot of my life now, very different from what I had envisioned. I used to be a corporate lawyer. Now I spend most of my time with people who have lost a child, who have or have had cancer, and now fire victims. So don't worry, this is not going to be a depressing podcast. But yes, I am around a lot of people in grief. And that seems very relevant right now because many, many people are in grief over a lot of different things. So it's not just the loss of a child, it's any kind of loss. A lot of my friends have lost their spouses recently. Of course, we are all at the age where we're starting to lose our parents. John's dad, Lori, passed away this last year, so we have been dealing with that too. The world is just not the same without him in it. Pets, we're about to lose our cat, Leroy, who we love and is our baby and has been with us for 14 years, part of our family. And when we lose him, it's going to be like losing another part of Molly because he was her kitty. She loved him so much. Pets, people write to me all the time about loss and grief, and pets is huge. Pets are part of our family. Also, grief over the living. This one does not get enough attention, but I think it's very important. What about when we have a loved one that's not in our lives because they can't be for whatever reason, and we're grieving the living. We're grieving the person we used to have or we thought we would have and we no longer have, but they're not deceased. So I have that with my parents. I haven't haven't been close with my parents for a long time. And, I always say it's just for now, but for now has now been 10 years. So it might be forever. I'm not sure. Never say never. But when Mother's Day and Father's Day rolls around, it's always tough because I have parents, they're alive, but they're not they're not part of our lives at all. So that's tough. Lots to talk about on the subject of grief. Also on the subject of death. Again, this is not going to be all dark and depressing, but death is part of life and we need to get used to it. We need to stop pretending it doesn't exist. We need to stop making it taboo. We have to stop making it weird and live with death in full view. So what do I mean by that? I mean, if we think about what we're doing with our days and how we spend our time, and consider, if we don't have that much time left, and God willing, we all do, hopefully we all do, of course, but maybe we don't know, like Molly had 12 years and of course we all thought she had so many more years. Nobody knows what's happening from day to day. And that's always been the case. That's nothing new, but we just have to accept it and embrace it and use it to help us figure out what's really important to us and how we want to spend our days and our time here. So I think about every day like this, was I a good mom today? Was I a good wife? Was I present? Did I appreciate nature? Was I not what was I doing, but how was I living? How was I being? And that's really hard for me because I'm a doer, but I really try to focus on what's the quality of my being, not my doing. And I ask myself at the end of the day, how do I feel? Do I feel like this day, if I didn't have that many days left, how do I feel about this day? Was this time well spent? Sometimes the answer is no. Usually it's yes, though. Usually I'm pretty happy at the end of the day. I feel like I helped someone. I feel like I spent quality time with the people I love. I feel like I lived life, and that I'm grateful to be here and grateful for the experience. And so that's sort of my guiding principle. And I hope it helps somebody. On the topic of death, one more thing about death before I move on to life, and then I swear to God I'm moving on to life. Death does not end a relationship. People, death does not end a relationship. If death ended a relationship, you wouldn't see me sitting here. I couldn't handle it. When Molly died, I said to myself and to everyone, I cannot live without Molly. I can't live without her. So I have to learn a new way of living with her. And I've done that. It has not been easy. It is still not easy, but I've done it. And she is absolutely with me, and we are doing this together. If you are listening to me, if you are watching me, you are watching Molly and I in action together. And that's a pretty exciting thing. It's not what I would have chosen. It is not what I want. But it's the life that I have. And if this is the life I have to have, then we're going to do it together however we can. And we are. So a lot of people don't realize this, that life and death can coexist in this way, meaning that if someone dies, you don't have to end your relationship with them, because we live in this society where death is sort of a taboo subject that we would like to pretend doesn't exist. So this guy reached out to me a while back, and he wrote to me and he said, I lost a brother when I was a kid. And this guy's an older guy, mid-50s, older guy. I mean, I'm not far behind, but you know what I mean? I mean, this was a loss that happened decades ago when he was a kid. And this loss so wrecked his family that he could not ever discuss it because his parents were so destroyed that they never talked about the brother. had no pictures up of him. They just couldn't talk about him. And this guy said, since somehow I stumbled upon you and Molly, I have a picture up of my brother for the first time. And my wife and my kids see my brother, and they are hearing me tell stories about him, and he's part of our lives again. And that's why I do this. That's why I'm here. If that happens, even just once, it's enough. That makes me super, super happy. It makes all of the online hate worth enduring, because there are so many examples of things like that, which make me super happy. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about how we live with our loved ones who have passed, and we make them part of our daily lives and incorporate them, and how we do that with our kids. We were just in Mexico over the holidays and before the fire times. And Nate said, Mom, I just really love, we were in this beautiful botanical garden in Puerto Vallarta. And he said, I love how the people who have died are part of everything here. And it's true. It's like everywhere you go, there's a picture of, Abuelita and her story. And, there's a memorial plaque. There are tiles, there are gardens, there are benches, and the dead are part of just daily life. And it's amazing. I love that. And I want more of that for all of us, because it's such a healthier, happier way for all of us to live with what is inevitable, and part of life, which is death. So I said I wasn't always going to be a downer. I also want to talk about just, how we get through these incredibly challenging times, by what has helped me the most is really living in the present moment. So my friends get aggravated sometimes because they ask me to make plans, and I can't even make plans for tomorrow because I'm just in today. I don't even know what's happening tomorrow. And it's different for me. I was not always like this. I was always a planner and a doer and a very type A lawyer and planning for the future. And I'm just living in the now. And it's better in the now, not in the past, not in the future, in right now, today, the present moment. I think that is the key to not suffering unnecessarily. Life is very difficult. We're all going through a lot, but we don't have to suffer unnecessarily. And that also relates to the idea of not resisting. And that has nothing to do with politics. It has nothing to do with giving up or, being weak. It has everything to do with going with the ebbs and flows of life. Life is going to be impossible and difficult and full of struggle, and then it will be wonderful, and you'll be happy, and you'll have moments that are blissful, and all these things, and they just come and go. So whatever you're feeling in this moment, it's going to change again. It's transitory. Everything is going to change again. We're all here for a very, very limited time. No matter how long we live, the time is very short. And so, realizing that we control very, very little is important and will help you to live life in a way that's more fun and more meaningful, and doesn't waste all your energy and run down your battery on things that you can't control and you are wasting your energy on. Speaking of battery, there's a lot of things that just drain your battery in the background. And that's so true of grief. That's something I want to talk about in the grief space. Is just when you're grieving, it feels like your battery is just constantly being sapped by this grief thing that is always running in the background. And it makes you so tired and so worn. It's tough. I don't know what we do about that, but I think it's so important to talk about. Anyway, I have so many topics I want to share with you all. I want to talk about career. I spent much of my life as, first as a student, and then as a lawyer. I worked at the Department of Justice. I worked for Dianne Feinstein. That's really kind of where my heart is in public service. I want to run for office someday. My husband is not so sure about that idea. But we'll see, never say never. I cannot live or die with regret. So I'm going to have to do it at some point. But we'll see, we won't rush it. For now, my kids really need me. And my Eli, it's like, I can't even go literally, you guys, I can't go to the bathroom without this kid wanting to know where I am. But, they've been through a lot. And, if I'm at the grocery store, he's messaging me on the iPad like 10 times. Where are you? Where are you? When are you coming back? So, I don't think I'm going to be doing that in the near future, but I absolutely hope to do it in the medium future. But I want to talk about my professional experience because I have so much to share in that regard. And actually, that's another part of grief. When you lose your professional identity, when you lose your job, your career, your, thing that you spend your time studying and working towards and working on, when that ends, especially if it's sudden, it's fucking brutal too. So I want to talk about that too. But on the topic of law, I worked in big law, which is something, we use to signify working for a large law firm, that has many offices in the United States and usually international offices too. And my experience was overall quite positive. But I have a lot of things to say as well that I think most people who still want to have, a legal career can't really say. So I'm really I'm unbridled and I can just say anything. So I'm going to do that. I'm not going to say bad things, but I'm just going to say things that are true that are often hard to talk about. I love when young lawyers and law students reach out to me. My favorite part of my legal career was the mentorship program at my law firm. First, I had a mentor who became my best friend and is still my best friend today, decades later. Neither of us are working for that law firm, but we're still best friends and we are in constant communication. It's her fault that I have gotten this wine habit. She's introducing me to all these good wines, which is not a daily thing, friends. It's not a daily thing. I try to only drink on the weekends, but given the shit show that has been going on with this podcast and recording it today, here we are. Mentorship. I loved being a mentor. I'm still close with a lot of the young women that I mentored. And that I think is just so rewarding and fulfilling. And so I want to do more of that. I want to do that on this show on a larger scale. So marriage, I've been married for 18 years. It's been real fucking hard. It's been happy for some of the time. It's been extremely difficult for a lot of it, for obvious reasons, right? Having a life-threatening illness and losing a child and having really fucked up parents and having a parent die, all of these things, it makes it really tough. And it's really tough anyway, just in general. Life is very challenging. We're two professionals who worked very hard for many years and took care of our kids with very little help. And, it was rough. It was rough. But we made it. We're still here. And, I want to talk about that too, as well as friendship. Jonathan and I, we were friends. We were best friends in law school. And we started dating at the wonderfully romantic time of studying for the bar exam. So friendship is important to both of us. John has his friends that he's had since he was a little boy. He grew up here he grew up in Santa Monica, and he has all his friends. And I have friends that from, all walks of life, including, friends I met recently that have become really close friends. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe Where were you until now? I definitely think that, there are no coincidences and people come into our lives who are meant to come into them. So I so look forward to bringing my friends on here and introducing you to them. And I'll leave you with this. Here's an example of one of my amazing friends. Her name is Jill. Jill sent this around yesterday. She's part of the Palisades community. Just suffered tremendous loss because of the fire, like we all have. She sent this around to our group of moms. Let me read this to you. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about the Palisades. There's so much I want to share with you about the Palisades. So here's Jill's text. There's 10 of us on this text chain. It says, guys, all hands on deck for Mary. She's my dog sitter. Just read her text to me. I'm going to help her get money and basic stuff like clothes. She's a single woman, 72 years old, no kids, lost everything. Please read and let's band together for Mary. She's such a lovely woman. Quiet, I'm working. Sorry. Here's Mary's message. I'm just happy you all are okay. I had no idea where to go after losing everything. So I drove to Prescott, Arizona to be near my brother. I'm still living in a hotel in Prescott, but my insurance tells me that I have until February 28th until they have to move me. Where, I do not know. I was happy at the hotel. Since rebuilding in the Palisades is impossible because of the costs, it looks like I'll be staying in Prescott, possibly looking to buy a home here. Still waiting for my insurance to pay me so I can do that. I've lived in the Palisades since I was 4 years old. Guys, this woman is 72, and that's really common in the Palisades. There are many people who've lived there for decades and generations. She goes on to say, I had paid off my house, had Social Security and my pet sitting business to help get by. I thought I could finally think about retiring. But we all know what happened. I still have my 2 dogs, Quinn and Darby. I still only have 1 change of clothes, but there is a washer and dryer at the hotel. Plus, the hotel has free breakfast every morning. It's hard starting over at 72 years old, but we have to keep moving forward. Oh my God. This is why I got so mad at the New York Times, because they said everyone was rich in the Palisades. No, they're not. No, they're not. Anyway, the response on this was overwhelming, and everyone, is pitching in and helping. And I'm going to share with everybody who follows me how to help Mary as well. I love you. I will see you tomorrow. I really hope this does not delete in some way. Please, God, I hope you guys manage to hear this, and I will hopefully see you tomorrow to commiserate and have coffee together.